So you're talking about a group of men that are willing to do more in the household, share the workload in the household, and everything under the sun, and they're suffering from loneliness. That does not compute when he reads back the stats saying, "Oh well, the women are divorcing these men because the men are carrying their weight in the household." The data even shows you that's not true. Men tend to work outside the household more than women do. That's just a fact. The person who is home more is going to do more homework than a person that's not at home. That's just simply the facts.
I think that men are having a hard time admitting things. And it's just disheartening because y'all always want women to take accountability and hold women accountable. But if a man is sitting here telling you something and you just reject what he's saying just because you don't like it, or I don't know, or you don't agree with one thing, everything that he's saying is not wrong. Um, there are a lot of useful things in what he's saying for men. He's literally sitting here talking to men. The audience was made up of mostly men when he was talking. He's talking to men. He's saying things that mean something. So, like, I think men are having a hard time being accountable because I sit here and tell y'all stuff every day, but unfortunately, y'all think I'm a feminist, so you reject everything that I say, thinking that I just hate men. And it's unfortunate because I just be trying to lend you a female perspective, but it's always rejected. I'm always the one here understanding men, but men are not understanding me. And I thought that maybe when I heard him speak, I was like, oh, a man is saying it. Because I know men respect dick more than they respect vagina. So I'm like, cool, cool, cool. A man is saying it. So maybe they might listen. Nope, y'all still don't want to listen because you think that somehow he's favoring women or he hates his dad. Like, that's crazy. Y'all not taking accountability for anything. It makes me not want to talk. This is something that I have been dealing with since I've been on this panel, that I don't want to talk to y'all because you don't listen. You're not listening to a woman's perspective because you don't like it. If you suck as a man, you just suck. Don't suck, is all I'm saying. And this is how you do it. If I'm telling you, if a woman is sitting here minding her business in what you call a resting bitch face, just because you scary, don't mean that I'm mean. So all I'm saying is there are some women that are not these women that you have experienced, but you like to live in discomfort and confusion that you don't want to understand a woman's perspective. So I'm gonna let y'all men do what y'all do. I'm gonna talk to the men that listen to me, but I'm gonna let y'all men do what y'all do and not take accountability because I can guarantee you I'll never open my legs to none of these men that say some of the things that y'all say.
But real
That's
quick,
why.
who did you grab that sentiment from? Because you saying that we rejected everything the man said on who did you
No, I
grab
didn't
that
say.
Trigger
sentiment from?
Mike.
What I'm saying is there was a lot of discrediting just because of certain things. It's like nothing. It's almost like nothing was useful.
I don't think so. I think there was a lot useful
I
in
know
what he
you
said.
do.
No, she's talking to me, and I did say it at the beginning several times that I wasn't going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because he is saying things, but Ty hit it on the head. He is pandering. And I told you I listened to the entire interview. And then I was like, why is he doing that? And then he talked about his father and how he wasn't there and how he treated his mom. So he has a female centric thing. But I do want to respond to something that you said because I'm thinking about it. It's not even a real rebuttal. You say that men aren't listening. I think one of the things is, and I said this in my dialogue with Ty, you cannot expect men to listen to your perspective as a woman because you believe that we are processing things the same. We do not, in our culture, in our society, even want to give the emotional latitude to understand that men do not process things like this. One of the biggest examples of that is how women keep recommending therapy, psychotherapy to men. That is how I know that, because that works for you, and because women speak 13,000 more words per day than men do, and women love empathy, they love sympathy, they love bonding that way. They think it would be good for us to do so as well. Do you know how I bond? I go to the shooting range with my boys. I always get over a bad day after that. We
I
play
go
some
bowling.
football, we play some basketball. Some dudes lift weights. They need brotherhood, not therapy. But I understand that that is your way of processing your feelings. That's not my way of doing it. And those are the situations where I realize, like, somebody like him is trying to relate to. He was actually, this is my accusation for Scott Galloway in that interview. He was actually making fun of men in a lot of ways. Because this is why I looked up what he actually did, because he made a mistake that a psychotherapist would never make. He made a joke about women being happier when their spouse dies.
Yep.
So every single man, what's the freaking point then? A psychotherapist would never do that. That's why we called him a panderer. That's why
What?
we won't listen to him. He's using the circumstance and situation of males to poke fun at males for the sake of a woman. That's what some of these men who are suffering the male loneliness epidemic are going through every day. That's why I tried to poke holes in some of the things that he was saying, because I understand the spirit that he's saying it in is not actually genuine.
Also, the reason why I rejected it is because it's not backed by the data. The data says otherwise. It says otherwise. And the thing is that you have to also think about who he's saying it, because men over the age of 30 are not suffering from a male loneliness epidemic. We're talking about young men. Men who are 35 and older actually are less lonely than women in that age group. We're talking about
That's
the
why
young men.
I asked you, what do you
Hold
think it's
on.
a race thing? I'm sorry. That's all.
So we're talking about a group of men that are probably arguably the most egalitarian group that we've ever known in the history of the planet, who are more willing to do, first of all, I would argue that it started with half of Gen X. Millennials are more egalitarian than Gen X. And then what's the generation after millennials? Gen Z. Gen Z is even more egalitarian than Gen X and millennials and the silent generation. So you're talking about a group of men that are willing to do more in the household, share the workload in the household, and everything under the sun, and they're suffering from loneliness. That does not compute when he reads back the stats saying, oh, well, the women are divorcing these men because the men are carrying their weight in the household. The data even shows you that's not true. Men tend to work outside the household more than women do. That's just a fact. The person who is home more is going to do more homework than a person that's not at home. That's just simply the facts. And this has been ongoing. This study has been going for at least 2 decades now. So of course I'm going to throw out what he said, because it's not even backed by the data. You just talking. What happens is they take talking points from 40 years ago, and then they try to use it today as if that is the situation today. That is not the reason why they're divorcing. It's because a man ain't pulling his weight around the house. That's simply not true. Now, I would argue, somebody asked, what data did I post? Gender gap and time use in the household. All you gotta do is Google it. What I do believe tends to happen is some people, and Trev, I'm gonna steal this from Trev. People always want to make themselves the hero in their story or the protagonist in their story. So what happens is they go and report, oh, well, why did you leave him? Oh, well, he wasn't doing XYZ for me. He wasn't doing this, but you negate all the things that he did do because he didn't do all the things you expected him to do. But y'all both pulled y'all weight in the household. You don't talk about the fact that he works 60 hours compared to your 40 hours a week. You don't talk about the fact that, hey, you get more sleep than he does. He tends to lose sleep, like, because even in the study, right? They talked about how men had more leisure time. But if you looked at the amount of sleep that women had in comparison to men, you would see that the gap that was filled in, the fact that men lost sleep for their leisure. We stay up later and play the video game. We stay up later and go shooting. We stay up later and do podcasts and shit. And they didn't account for that. They just said, oh, well, men ain't pulling they weight in the household. But we work 5 to 6 more hours a week than the women do. And if we're talking about a household where it's only one sole provider, we know in most cases to take care of a full family of 4 in a household, you're talking about something north of 80 to 90,000, and what they $80,000+ a year. And what we do know is that most people who make over that amount work a serious amount of overtime.